The Northwest Indian War, a brutal struggle from 1785 to 1795, shaped the destiny of a young nation. The newly formed United States clashed with powerful Native American tribes for control of the Northwest Territory. This vast wilderness held the promise of riches and the threat of bloodshed. The Northwest Indian War would test the resolve of the fledgling nation and determine the fate of the indigenous people. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 ended the American Revolution and granted the United States a vast territory. This was the Northwest Territory, stretching from the Appalachian Mountains to the Mississippi River. Native American tribes, not part of the treaty negotiations, did not recognize American claims to their ancestral lands. As American settlers pushed westward, tensions escalated. The stage was set for a clash of cultures and a struggle for survival. This is the story of the Northwest Indian War, a struggle for the frontier. The American Revolution left a complicated legacy for Native Americans, bringing broken treaties and new encroachments on their lands. Many tribes had sided with the British, hoping to halt American expansion, but were abandoned with the Treaty of Paris. This betrayal fueled resentment and mistrust among Native Americans as settlers flooded across the Appalachian Mountains. The arrival of American settlers brought conflict over land and a clash of cultures. Settlers cleared forests for farms, disrupting hunting grounds and sacred sites, and introduced diseases that ravaged Native populations. Native Americans saw settlers as invaders and were determined to resist. As tensions escalated, violence became common, sowing the seeds of a wider conflict. Settlers saw Native Americans as obstacles to progress, driven by a sense of cultural superiority. For Native Americans, the struggle was about preserving their way of life, culture, and identity. The stage was set for a clash that would determine the fate of the Northwest Territory. Faced with a common enemy, Native American tribes of the Northwest Territory knew they had to stand together. Leaders from various tribes, including the Miami, Shawnee, Delaware, and Potawatomi, met in council. They formed the Western Confederacy, led by chiefs like Little Turtle, Blue Jacket, and Buckongahelas. These tribes pledged to resist American expansion and protect their lands and way of life. The Confederacy was a formidable alliance, bound by a shared sense of purpose. The Western Confederacy was more than a military alliance. It was a testament to the political acumen of Native leaders. They established a council of chiefs to coordinate efforts, share intelligence, and develop joint military strategies. The Confederacy's strength lay in its warriors' skill and tenacity, masters of guerrilla warfare. Each tribe contributed unique strengths, forming a formidable fighting force. Together, they faced the threat to their existence. The British, still smarting from their defeat in the Revolution, saw an opportunity to undermine the United States. From their forts in Canada, they provided the Western Confederacy with weapons, ammunition, and supplies. This support emboldened the Native Americans and fueled their resolve. The stage was set for a protracted and bloody conflict. The early years of the Northwest Indian War were marked by hardship for the young United States. The Confederacy, emboldened by British support, inflicted a series of defeats on the American army. The most crushing blow came in 1791 at the Battle of the Wabash, also known as St. Clair's defeat. General Arthur St. Clair's forces were ambushed and routed by a Confederacy force led by Little Turtle and Blue Jacket. Over 900 American soldiers were killed or wounded, the heaviest loss ever inflicted on the U.S. Army by Native Americans. The defeat shattered the illusion of American military superiority and exposed the vulnerability of the frontier. It forced the United States to rethink its strategy and commitment to the war. In the wake of St. Clair's defeat, President George Washington turned to General Anthony Wayne. Known for his courage and recklessness, Wayne was a strict disciplinarian and brilliant strategist. He transformed the demoralized remnants of the U.S. Army into a formidable fighting force. Wayne drilled his men relentlessly in marksmanship, wilderness survival, and Native American fighting tactics. He studied the Confederacy's tactics, preparing his men to exploit any vulnerability. Wayne created the Legion of the United States, a self-contained fighting unit capable of operating independently in the wilderness. The Legion combined infantry, cavalry, and artillery, giving Wayne unmatched flexibility and firepower. Wayne's strategy was to build a chain of forts to secure supply lines and train his men to fight like the enemy. He drilled his men relentlessly, instilling discipline and a sense of purpose. Wayne secured his supply lines, ensuring his troops were well equipped and provisioned. He was determined to leave nothing to chance. In August 1794, Wayne's Legion marched north from Fort Recovery to the heart of the Confederacy's territory. The two forces clashed on August 20, 1794, at the Battle of Fallen Timbers. The Confederacy, expecting a repeat of St. Clair's defeat, was caught off guard by the Legion's discipline and ferocity. The Legion's superior firepower and training began to tell, and the Confederacy was forced to retreat. The Battle of Fallen Timbers was a decisive victory for the United States, breaking the back of the Western Confederacy's resistance. The summer of 1794 hung heavy with anticipation as General Wayne's Legion marched towards the Maumee River. The Confederacy warriors under Blue Jacket prepared for the inevitable confrontation. On August 20th, the Legion encountered the Confederacy's force amidst the fallen trees. The Battle of Fallen Timbers had begun, a day of fire and fury. It would shape the destiny of the Northwest Territory. The Battle of Fallen Timbers was a brutal close-quarters fight. The Legion, though outnumbered, held the advantage in firepower and discipline. Wayne's men maintained their formations, delivering volley after volley of musket fire. The Confederacy warriors fought with desperate courage, using the fallen trees as cover. But the disciplined wall of Wayne's Legion drove the Confederacy warriors back, inch by bloody inch. The Battle of Fallen Timbers raged for hours, and by day's end, the Legion had prevailed. The Confederacy, their ranks shattered, were forced to retreat. The victory at Fallen Timbers marked the end of their organized resistance in the Northwest Territory. It broke the back of the Confederacy and paved the way for American control of the region. For the Native Americans, it was a crushing defeat with profound consequences for generations to come. Section 4. The Legacy of Fallen Timbers. The Battle of Fallen Timbers was more than just a military engagement. It was a clash of cultures, a struggle for control of the very soul of the Northwest Territory. It was a battle that reverberated far beyond the battlefield, shaping the destiny of both the victors and the vanquished. For the United States, Fallen Timbers represented a decisive step towards westward expansion, a validation of their claim to the rich lands of the Ohio Valley. It secured their control of the Northwest Territory, opening the door for further settlement and development. But the victory at Fallen Timbers came at a price. It solidified a pattern of conquest and displacement that would come to define the relationship between the United States and Native American tribes for generations to come. For the Native Americans, Fallen Timbers was a tragedy. It marked the beginning of a long and painful era of forced relocation, broken treaties, and cultural assimilation. The memory of the battle and the losses they suffered would linger in their hearts, a reminder of their struggle for survival in a land they once called their own. The Battle of Fallen Timbers shattered the Western Confederacy's resistance, but it did not end the war. The threat of continued conflict lingered, casting a long shadow over the Northwest Territory. Both sides, weary of bloodshed, recognized the need for a lasting peace. In the summer of 1795, representatives from the United States and the defeated tribes of the Western Confederacy gathered at Fort Greenville. a newly constructed outpost symbolizing American dominance in the region. The air was thick with tension, a mixture of grief for the fallen and a cautious hope for the future. Leading the American delegation was General Anthony Wayne, the victor of Fallen Timbers, a man known for his military prowess and his unwavering determination. Facing him were chiefs from the Shawnee, Delaware, Miami, and other tribes, their faces etched with the weight of defeat, their hearts heavy with the knowledge that the future of their people hung in the balance. The negotiations were complex and fraught with emotion. Each side harbored deep suspicions, their past grievances casting a pall over the proceedings. But the desire for peace, a longing for an end to the bloodshed, provided a common ground, a flicker of hope in the aftermath of war. After months of tense negotiations, the Treaty of Greenville was signed on August 3, 1795. The tribes ceded vast lands to the United States, including much of present-day Ohio and Indiana. This opened the door for further westward expansion by American settlers. In exchange, the tribes received an annual payment of $20,000 worth of goods. The treaty marked a turning point, establishing a pattern of land cessions and forced removals. It sowed the seeds of future conflict and resentment. The Northwest Indian War, a conflict largely forgotten in the annals of American history, had a profound impact on the young nation's destiny. It was a brutal and costly struggle, but it secured for the United States control of the Northwest Territory, a vast and fertile region that would become the heartland of a growing nation. With the signing of the Treaty of Greenville, the floodgates opened. American settlers, eager for land and opportunity, poured across the Ohio River, transforming the wilderness into farms, towns, and cities. The Northwest Territory, once a battleground, became a symbol of American ambition and expansion. The war also had a profound impact on the United States' sense of national identity. It demonstrated the young nation's willingness to fight for its interests, its ability to project power on the frontier, and its determination to expand its borders westward. The echoes of the Northwest Indian War reverberated in the halls of power as well. It highlighted the importance of a strong national government capable of defending the nation's borders and securing its interests. It also underscored the need for a well-trained and equipped military force capable of projecting power on the ever-expanding frontier. Displacement and Dispossession. The Treaty of Greenville ended bloodshed but began a painful era for Native American tribes. It codified land cessions and forced relocations. Tribes ceded vast tracts of their ancestral territory, their villages falling under U.S. control. Promises of peace rang hollow as their way of life crumbled. Forced onto reservations, often in remote areas, they faced poverty, disease, and despair. The loss of lands and forced assimilation devastated their cultural identity, the enduring spirit of indigenous peoples. Despite the hardships they faced, the Native American tribes never surrendered their claim to their ancestral lands. They preserved their cultural heritage through acts of resistance. Clinging to their languages, stories, and traditions, they passed them down from generation to generation. Their story is one of resilience, resistance, and enduring spirit, a testament to the power of culture and the importance of remembering the past. The Northwest Indian War, a decade of struggle and bloodshed, fades into the background of a young nation's rise. The United States, emboldened by victory, secured its hold on the Northwest Territory, a stepping stone to westward expansion. Native American tribes, the original inhabitants, were pushed aside, their sacrifices often overlooked. The Treaty of Greenville, a fragile peace, paved the way for further displacement and dispossession. Section 2. Echoes on the Land. Today, the battlefields of the Northwest Indian War are silent. The clash of muskets and the cries of warriors have faded into memory, but the echoes of that conflict still linger, etched upon the land. The struggle for the Northwest Territory was more than just a clash of armies. It was a clash of cultures. It was a struggle for control of resources, for recognition, for survival. And while the victors wrote the history books, the vanquished never forgot their sacrifices. If you like videos like this, please subscribe and click the notification button. Thanks for watching This and That News.